Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Glendale Housing Authority meeting of August 12, 2008. May we have a roll call for the Housing Authority, please?
Authority members: Freeman.
Here.
Mincy.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Yusefian.
Here. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the August 12, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, August 7, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Is there a motion for the minutes?
So moved. Second.
The minutes will stay approved as submitted. What's next, please?
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision, and the matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation and report.
I have one card. Herbert Milano. Mr. Milano, your name, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Herbert Milano. Members of the Housing Authority, city staff, every week around this time I bring up additional issues that I would like for this the Housing Authority to consider when it comes to updating the quality of life indicators. I'm suggesting perhaps a review of page 27 of this report, which includes alcohol and drug abuse, and I thought that perhaps we could add to this document something concerning smoking, since it happens to be such a apparently contentious issue. So I want to address that because I think that we can enlighten the community a little bit more about it. Part of the problem of addressing the issue of smoking is that it's been presented as a ethnic and maybe even a racial issue. And I want to say that it is, but it is indirectly a racial or ethnic issue. I have an apartment building, and about 50% of the apartment dwellers smoke. There's usually at least one person within those units that is smoking, and they happen to be of Armenian descent and Korean. Now, during the last 20 years, we had at least 2 of them who had heart bypass surgery. I'm assuming paid for by Medi-Cal or Medicare, but they stopped smoking after the surgery. What I find interesting is that we have a health issue that is of concern to all of the residents of Glendale and to our California budget as well. And that when I look at the lead when it comes to community health, usually within the county of Los Angeles, we do not find that type of resources being applied towards the issue of a city like Glendale and specifically targeted at that problem. I'm concerned about the number of children who are exposed to smoking at their home, in both in a physical way and in an influential way, because I think it is much easier for a child to grow up as to be a teenager and pick up cigarette smoking because it's the culturally acceptable thing to do for them, or because they see their parents do it, and because they feel perhaps a little bit more adult by copying those things that their parents and grandparents are doing. What I'm going to suggest is that the city perhaps can take an initiative to help reduce at the source the problem of smoking. And I'm suggesting that perhaps we can initiate some programs to encourage maybe all of the children from middle school up to be able to run at least 1 mile in under 10 minutes, or high school students to be able to run 2 miles in under 20 minutes, or perhaps to encourage adults to be able to walk a marathon every month, 26 miles at least, maybe a mile a day, and to encourage the process of getting people off cigarettes, by maybe funding some type of initiative for the purpose of providing nicotine patches and programs to stop smoking. And I think that's where our efforts should be headed, as a health initiative to reduce the number. And so my thinking is that if we take a survey of the current number of children who have parents or relatives who are smoking at home, and the number of adults who are currently smoking, maybe we should set a target so that every 4 years we aim for a major reduction in the number of adults who are smoking and children who are exposed to smoking at home. And I hope that that becomes part of the regular periodic report, that it becomes part of this report, which is originally from the Healthy Cities report. So the issue of smoking is a health issue, and it is my encouragement to the City Council to take an initiative to measure and aim programs and initiatives to reduce the amount of smoking of adults and the children who are exposed to them. Thank you.
Thank you. That was my last card. All communications closed. What's next, please?
On the business agenda at 6A is Director of Community Development and Housing regarding annual submission of the Section 8 Management Assessment Program, CMAP, self-certification for the fiscal year 2007-2008. At 6A1 is a motion approving the CMAP annual submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD.
That I'll go to Madam Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority. This is the annual program performance report required to be submitted to HUD by the Housing Authority. It begins with a self-assessment by the department, and based on the self-assessment, it appears that we will get 145 out of 145 points. Our self-assessment in the past has been fairly close to the verification assessment, and our assessment is then verified by our single auditor, the independent auditor who conducts the single audit, as well as HUD's independent audit. This does qualify us to be a high performer, and I think this is our 4th or 5th year in this category, so I think it is indicative of the work that the staff does. It's a complex, administratively burdensome program, and I think
Last time when we did the audit was done, was there any discrepancies
I
in
don't
ourselves
believe...
and one?
No, there were no discrepancies. They
That's what I
verified the
thought.
data.
It was the same. Okay. Mr. Mincy.
This is basically the same report that we have every year. We get such an excellent report. I would like to move 6A1.
I'll second it, but I have a
Mr.
question.
Quintero.
On number 9, the annual reexamination of tenant income and eligibility, does that include our investigators? Do we still have the 2 investigators or 1? How many investigators do we have?
We do have one investigation. It's not tied actually to the annual reexamination, but on an ongoing basis, they have a fairly large number of cases that they get referred from the case manager, so they working to full capacity.
So we have 1 full-time investigator,
That's correct.
and that's it. And how many tenants on Section 8?
We have about 2,900, including the ports from LA. We have about 1,500 of allocated to Glendale and about close to another 1,500 from LA.
Perazia.
I have a question. Do you know how many, the number of families on the Section 8 waiting list program?
I'm going to have to ask Joseph or Carolina the exact number. I think it's somewhere around 7,000.
Yeah, 6,700.
Good afternoon. I think we have 7,600 people on the waiting list right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Najari.
Thank you. I'm looking at page 1 of the program certification, item 1, 1B, and I am perhaps asked this question maybe more often than any other question, and that is, I have a grandmother or I have an aunt who's really in sad shape. Can't you get her on the Section 8 waiting list? And item 1B, the performance indicator, is that the Public Housing Authority's quality control samples of applicants reaching the top of the waiting list and of admissions show that at least 98% of the families in the samples were selected in accordance with the City of Glendale's policies and met the selection criteria. I mean, is it fair to say that in Glendale, 100% of those people selected are strictly by the policies and the procedures that we have?
Yes, we have a staff auditor, and all files that are contracted, the file has to contain documentation that the person qualified for the points that they've indicated that they qualify for. Right now, we're processing people that have 5 points. And so she double checks to ensure that the applicant did qualify for the 5 points before they're issued their voucher.
And that no one, regardless of their position within the city can come to you and say, please put this applicant ahead of everyone else?
No, that's not possible.
And would you feel free to contact a higher authority should someone from the city do that to you?
Sure.
I mean, I hope you would, because this is a completely open and clean process where no one is pulling strings for an aunt or an uncle or a friend of the cousin. Everything is by the rules, and that none of us have any power or authority or sway as to who gets picked on the...
Well, we have 8 housing advisors on board, and I supervise the 8 housing advisors on board, and the auditor that approves the person getting the voucher doesn't report to me. They report directly to our Deputy Director of Housing, Peter Zovak. There's a separation of duties.
I just wanted to get that out, so I'll still get asked about it, but
Yes, so do we.
hopefully there'll be fewer questions.
We all get asked about it.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Najarian, any information anyone has with regards to suspicion, we encourage them to report to us that information that relates back to Councilman Quintero's comment. We have a full-time investigator, and he's quite busy.
I might add, Mr. Chair, we have, just a note, we also have tentatively scheduled a review of those policies related to the waiting list and eligibility for the September 2nd meeting.
Okay. Good. There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Authority members, Draymond?
Yes.
Muncy?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Brazian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Chairman Yusefian.
Aye. What's next, please?
Next is authority member staff comments.
Any comments? Mr. Zovak is here? Yeah. Mr. Zovak, could you please let him know, this morning we decided and picked the date for that seminar and a location also.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority. If you recall, a few meetings ago, I had announced that staff was going to be conducting a renter and homeowner fair. That fair has been scheduled for October 18th, and it will be from 1 to 5 p.m. in the Edison Pacific Center. And so just to let you know that we did narrow down the date and time and the location. What we'll be doing next is putting together a program for the event. We'll be giving the information to the Housing Authority, and then we'll start marketing.
Thank you. No comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
We're adjourned.